In this video, we're going to be reviewing for the Chapter 2 test. And we are going to be looking at the three main goals in Chapter 2, which is being able to solve an equation, so isolate the variable, being able to solve a literal equation. Remember, a literal equation is an equation with more than one variable. Being able to identify if a equation either has a solution set that is all real numbers or if it has no solution at all. And we're going to look at those things over the next couple of videos and some example practice problems. Our first example problem here is a two-step equation. And those two steps to isolate the variable, the first one comes from this minus 8. We're going to add 8 on both sides. And when we do, what will happen is that negative 4x is going to drop down. The negative 8 and the positive 8 will cancel out. 12 plus 8 is 20. My next step I do with my next inverse operation is this negative 4 times x. And so my inverse operation is to divide by negative 4. And that is going to give me the answer of x equals negative 5. And as we've gone through our lessons, we've talked about how we can substitute negative 5 back in for x and to check all of our equations. For time's sake with this video, we're just going to solve the problems. But on your test, I highly encourage you to go back and to check your answers so that you know you're getting that question right on the test. In problem 2, we see that before we can begin solving and isolating, on this left side here we have like terms. And so we need to add together this 1x and positive 8x. And when we do that, that is going to give us 9x. So we need to do that first. The minus 4 equal 23 is going to stay exactly where it is. And now what we have after we went through and did that combining of like terms is we have a two-step equation. So I see the minus 4 next. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And then what I will need to do is drop down this 9x. The negative 4 and the positive 4 cancel out. Over here, I'm going to add together the 23 plus 4 to get 27. And then I'm going to look at my next step here. This is 9 times x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And then I will be able to get my answer, which is x equals 3. Okay. Going on to our next problems. You can see that these ones now have distributive property in them. So I'm going to start number 3 by taking and applying the distributive property. Remember, the distributive property is just a form of multiplication. And so when I take negative 2 times x, that'll be negative 2x. And negative 2 times 4 is going to give me a negative 8. And then I'm going to keep the equal 20. So my first step in green there is just to apply the distributive property. Now I'm going to work with my inverse operations. I see negative 8, I'm going to add 8. That'll cancel out the negative 8 and the positive 8, and I will drop down this negative 2x. 20 plus 8 will give me 28. And then I see that I have one step left. I have negative 2 times x, and so I'm going to take and divide both sides by negative 2. And that is going to give me my final answer of x equals negative 14. When we go to look at our next problem over here, I have to realize that when I read this problem, it's 4x minus, there's an implied 1 to be before that parenthesis. And that's the thing I need to do first. I need to use the negative 1 and the distributive property. So I'm going to drop down the 4x, And then I'm going to distribute negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times 4 minus 4 equals 8. So my first step there, distributive property in yellow. I then see that I have a 4x minus 2x. I need to combine those like terms. So my next step is to combine the like terms on the left side of the equation. Now I see that I have a minus 4, and I'm going to work with the inverse operation to add 4. When I do so, I'm going to be left with 2x on the left side of the equation. 8 plus 4 will give me a 12. And now I'm down to my very last step, 2 times x, inverse operation, divide, x will equal 6. And we have 2 more practice problems on this video. Our first one here, we have variables on both sides of the equation, and we talked before about how our goal is to move all of our variables to one side, all of our constants to the other side. And so I'm going to start by taking this positive 3x and subtracting 3x from both sides. This is only one possible way to start this problem. That would leave me with the 2x minus 10 equals the 3x and negative 3x cancel out, and I'm going to have to drop down a negative 12. I need to be careful that that 12 is negative. I now see that what I have is a 2-step equation. So I'm going to take that minus 10 and I'm going to add 10. I'm going to drop down the 2x, the negative 10 and the positive 10 canceling out. Negative 12 plus 10 is negative 2. And then I'm going to do my last step here working with inverse operations. I have 2 times x, so I'm going to divide by 2. And I'm going to get that x is equal to negative 1. And then in number 6, looks like we have a lot going on with this equation. So I'm going to start with, on the left side, doing the distributive property. And when I do that, I will have 2 times x, 2x, and 2 times a negative 2 minus 4. On the right side, I'm also going to do the distributive property. I will be distributing a negative 1. So this would be a negative 2x, and this would be a positive 4. So in green there is the step for distributive property. I see that on the right side of the equation here, I have like terms that I need to combine. So I'm going to combine those first. 4x minus 2x will give me 2x. And on this side, I don't have anything to do with combining like terms, so I'm just going to just write it down. Now, I may notice something at this point and be able to draw my conclusion and write the final answer. If I don't, I'm going to keep working the problem, and I'm going to take and move my variable to one side. And what happens is that the negative 2x on this side and then negative 2x on that side are going to cancel each other out. And what I'm going to be left with is a negative 4 is equal to a positive 4. So my variables cancel out. I'm left with something that is not true. And therefore, my answer to this equation is that there is no solution. There's no number that we can put in for our variable x so that we would have the right side of the equation equal the left side of the equation.